Hello everyone and welcome to a special episode of Blue Tengu Lab here. What I'm going to be doing for Season 3, before I start Season 3, is to play around with some stuff a little bit. Viewer123 Gas and a few others have mentioned in the past that it might be worth playing around a little more before jumping into a project, and I think they're right. We just wrapped up Season 2, so what I'm going to be playing around with is Amazon's Alexa device. And so I did set it up, so let me just show you the results. Basically, just a test. Basically, just took their tutorial and went through it. Their tutorial is over here. Developer Amazon.com, blah blah blah. New Alexa skills kit template, step-by-step guide to build a decision tree skill. I'll try to post that link somewhere. It's a bit of a long link, but you could probably find it. You can pretty much follow Noel's tutorial here and get through it all, as long as you are very careful to follow it step by step. Don't skip anything, don't make any assumptions, follow it step by step. One thing that's not included in here that you need to get started is you actually do need to have Node.js, Node JavaScript, installed on your machine. I'm assuming Windows because that's what I'm using. But obviously it's available for Mac and Unix, or Linux I should say, probably other Unix systems as well, I don't know. But you need to have that installed, so you need to go find Node.js and get that installed. Also, one thing that I did have a problem with is there's one step in here that says use terminal, basically use the command line to navigate to the skill sample Node.js decision tree master folder and install the SDK using npm install. One problem with that is that it doesn't seem to install in the right place because it can't find the package.json file that it needs. So what I had to do was actually navigate to this folder and run this command, and then everything worked out fine. So just remember those two things. Those are the two things that are kind of missing from this tutorial. Also, it's a little out of date in terms of like some of the interface stuff. Like, let's see if I can find a spot here. Where is it gonna be? It's gonna be around here somewhere. Yeah, it's the Lambda ARN and stuff where you have to enter it. Just, I'm sure they're tweaking their user interface. So from the time of this tutorial to what Amazon looks like now, there's a few differences, but for the most part, you shouldn't have any trouble. If you do, feel free to post a comment or something, and I can probably answer the question. At least for the version I tested it in. If you're watching this like months later, then I would probably have no idea how to help you. But this is just a way to install like a sample tree. By the way, for those of you who aren't aware, Amazon's Alexa device is a device, or various series of devices that sit in your room and basically listen for voice commands. So one of the things is this kind of sample tree where you basically just hear different noises, or just hear different questions, answer the questions, and you kind of branch through the trees. Obviously, it's kind of a base for any sort of choose your own adventure story that you're going to have. But after going through it all, I'm using the online test system Echosim.io to go through this. I'm not sure how this is going to work because I'm recording video right now. I'm not sure if this is going to mute the mic or what it's going to do, but let's test it. So if you go through their tutorial exactly, you'll end up with something called Secrets of the Space Monsters, is kind of their, kind of in here, Secret of the Space Monsters, their test program name. And I just did it exactly as their tutorial stated. So that's what I'm going to have to open. So this thing basically simulates an Alexa in your room. And here's how it works, hopefully. Open Secret of the Space Monster. Might actually not work because I was
Welcome to Decision Tree. Are you ready to play?
Hopefully this works. Yes! Sometimes it fumbles on this step, even though it's just yes. Sometimes it fumbles. I got it to work once. This is down to the Alexa hardware in this Echosim.io site, and microphone settings and things like that. It seems to be stumbling on it a little bit there. It's processing for a really long time for just yes. There might also be site traffic issues, I don't know. Let me try again. Yes! Off to a great start. It was working once. Let's try again. Open secret of the space monsters.
I can't find that skill. To find skills, go to the skills section of the Alexa app.
Yes. Open secret of the space monsters.
I can't find that skill. To find skills, go to the skills section of the Alexa app.
Ah, yes. Goodness gracious. Am I saying this right? Is the plural screwing it up? Is it really that good? Open secret of the space monster.
Welcome to Decision Tree. Are you ready to play?
Recognize the plural. That's actually impressive. Yes.
Do you like working with people?
There we go. Do I like working with people? No.
Would you like to work during the day?
Yes.
Do you want to work with animals?
No. I've got a lot of allergies. I don't think I'd want to work with animals.
I think you would make a good software engineer. Say, tell me more to hear a short description for this profession. Or do you want to play again?
So there you go. That's basically it. You can also test it. Let's see if I still have it open somewhere. There's also, like, if you're on the developer thing, there's also a test thing that you can use here. Like, for example, it does the exact same thing as I just did with voice. Obviously, it's nicer to test it with actual voice recognition, but let's see. So, like, for example, open secret of the space monster gets me to the here, and I say yes as a response, which gets me, do you like working with people? And I said no. And so these kind of responses, do you like to work during the day? Yes, I said yes to that. Do you want to work with animals? And I said no to that. And I think you would make a good software engineer. Not a great one, a good one. Tell me more to hear a short description. So for example, if I say, tell me more, hopefully it'll respond with a description of what a software engineer does.
A mirror is an object that reflects light in such a way that, for incident light in some range of wavelengths, the reflected light preserves many or most of the detailed physical characteristics of the original light.
Okay. That was random. So as you can see, speech recognition has come a long way since the 80s and 90s. Apparently, it can recognize the difference between Secret of the Space Monsters and Space Monster, but Tell Me More results it in telling me more about mirrors. It could just be that I let the application go for too long and it timed out or something. I'm not going to blame Alexa. I'm going to blame myself for that. But that's essentially Alexa. In terms of the steps you need to take, let me just walk you through it real quick. They do have a Wayne investigation skill, so they do have like a game skill, and our plan is to try and make a voice-activated game skill, but let's see if I can find that tutorial here. So the very first thing you need to do, you do need to actually sign up with a bunch of stuff. You do need to sign up with Amazon Web Services as like an individual or whatever you want to do. I would suggest individual until you're ready to like you need support or anything like that, because that's the free version. I don't know exactly how long that lasts as free. You're going to have to enter credit card details and all that sort of stuff. So whether you want to go that far is always up to you. But you do need to sign up with Amazon Web Services. So to be able to use this AWS Lambda, as well as like a database thing that you might need for your games later as well. And the Alexa skill set itself, you have to go to the Amazon developer portal and sign up there as well. So you've got a bunch of things that you have to do to get started. So here's where it goes. So you need an AWS account and an Amazon developer account. So you have to sign up with those two things. It's relatively painless. Just be careful because you do have to enter credit card information. So there are limits. And if you go over those limits, you will have to pay. Thankfully, if you're just playing around with stuff, you're probably not going to go over those limits unless you're playing around with it a lot. or you've got a lot of friends playing around with it. Then you just have to go to this GitHub address. Let me show you what it looks like. For those of you who aren't familiar with GitHub and like you see this and you're like, what the do I do with this? It's very programmer and Linux kind of oriented, but for us window folk, basically you just go to here, the clone or download green button, and just download the zip file. Put it someplace convenient. And you do the same thing with the decision tree sample, which is the thing that made me a software engineer. Even though I've left that life behind a long time ago. Apparently I'm designed for it. I do like working with people though, so I guess I lied about that. Download zip, do the same thing here. Do the same thing. And then, yeah, you download it, great. Just put them in a folder. Like I just chose like an Alexa folder on the D drive and just shoved everything in there. So you've got, let's see, let's head on over to where it is. So like for example, I chose just program files Alexa and just dumped those two folders as is in here. And then, as I said, you do have to install Node.js. So let me just show you that real quick. There you go, just go to Node.js, download for Windows. It's going to automatically figure out what version you have, so just recommended for most users. Grab that one. You don't have to grab the current one because that's in testing. Save and install. Just kind of go with the defaults for it. Once you have that installed, you can come over to command line. For those of you who aren't familiar with DOS from way back in the day, so like I can go to d:, program files, go back to where I was, Alexa, and there are my two folders there. So for example, these instructions, like I warned you at the beginning of the video, the instructions here are a bit off, so be careful about that. Because if you follow the instructions as is, you're going to end up with like a 50 some odd K zip file, which is not what you want, and you will get an error based on that. So you have to go to decision tree master like it says, and in here there's a source folder. Like if you just follow the instructions, it'll say npm install 2 dashes save Alexa SDK. And that's what it's telling you to do, but what you really want to do is not that, because it'll give you an error. You want to go to source and do that same thing. I'm not going to do it because I've already installed it, but whoops. npm install 2 dashes save space Alexa SDK. Once you do that, inside of the source folder you will have something called node modules. Double check to make sure there's a bunch of stuff in there, because the first error you're going to get if you don't do this right is something called I18 next is missing. So if you did it right, you don't have to worry about that. And then when you're all done, you come over to this folder that we just did, select everything. I already made a source zip file, so I'm not going to do it again, but select everything and just, use whatever zip file you have. Make sure to preserve the directories, create a zip file. And that's exactly how I got to this 3 megabyte file. Make sure it's 3 megabytes. If it's 50 some odd K, then you've obviously done something wrong because there's a lot of stuff in here. If it's only 50K, then you've probably only got this stuff and a little bit of extra junk in there. You also need to copy the SDK folder to it, so you can rename the SDK to be Alexa SDK, so you end up with something like this. So for example, let me show you what you do for that. Before you make the zip file, basically, let me get into the right place if I can. Okay. That's Android. I'm doing a bunch of stuff at once, so apologies for all these folders. I have to get in the right place. So you're going to have outside of here, one of those things that you downloaded from GitHub is this Alexa Skills Kit SDK for Node.js Master. You just want to copy that to here inside of source node modules and rename it to Alexa SDK. So all that stuff that's in there is in here. Then you zip it up. So sorry about that. You do have to zip it up after that. So follow the instructions step by step. Make sure you do it exactly as they say, except for the source thing that I've mentioned. When you're done, you have a 3 megabyte source zip file, and you can start jumping into Amazon Web Services. So AWS is Amazon Web Services. you log in, you do your thing. Make sure when you do this that the top right is set to US East North Virginia. I don't know why it has to be that, but if you don't do that, you're not going to be able to select this Alexa skill set kit later on. So just make sure you do this step. Obviously, I'm based in Tokyo, but if I select that, I don't get that option for some reason. So be careful about that. Choose create a Lambda function. This stuff is all very, very clear. Just follow these steps as is. You can just select the Alexa skill set as a trigger and name it, so secret of the space monsters, as we did. Upload that source.zip file that you just created. Follow the instructions, create a custom role. Just leave everything as is, choose next, and then configure a test event. Alexa start session is the thing you want to pick from the list. And just test it real quick, save and test. If you get an error like you do if you upload that 50K file, then that's where you're going to find that error. So when I first went through these instructions step by step, that's where I got my error and had to kind of start over and figure out what was going on. I figured out that the JSON file was not being found, which is why you have to go into the source directory. And then you go over to the developer portal. It's developer.amazon.com, make your account there, do your thing, select Alexa, select skill set, get started. And you just put in your name, your app name. So I just went with the example, Secret of the Space Monster, Secret of the Space Monster. The invocation name is what you actually have to speak to start it. So when I say open Secret of the Space Monster, it's that bit after the open. And then you follow these steps exactly. You take the intents.json file inside of, let's see, the decision tree sample folder. So let's see. So inside of here, that same thing, outside of source, it's above source, it's speech assets, and these are the three things you're going to have to copy one by one. So intents.json looks like this, and you're just going to copy that over. Same thing with sample utterances, you're just going to copy it all over. Same thing with slot values, you're just going to copy it over. So you do that exactly as they say here. Paste intents into the intent schema, add a slot, make sure you spell this exactly like that, and paste what you just copied from the slot stuff and the utterances as well. Just copy and paste that in. On the configuration page, choose Lambda. It's not going to look like this because it's been updated, but for the most part, you just select North America, and in the box that they have, just put in what you have in your Amazon let's see, Lambda thingy-majig. They don't actually show it here. They do mention, here you go, somewhere around here. Save and test. Where exactly they have it. Unfortunately, it's something where I can't really show you mine. They do warn that you have to copy it. It's in the developer portal. Anyway, there's something inside of your Lambda thing that you're going to have to copy and paste. So from our Amazon Web Services Lambda, so it's in the upper right. It's just a giant long string in the upper right corner that you're going to have to copy into this box. So just copy it into that box. Follow the instructions. And then you can test the page by typing open. So you can, in the enter utterances box, this is that test thing that we were just using. If I can find it again. Somewhere around here. Yeah, this is, in this box you can say open Secret of the Space Monster. That's what that thing is saying. And you ask Secret of the Space Monster. And once you do that, you can test it through that. You can also go to, let's see. You can also go to echosim.io and actually do it like we were doing here. Your results may vary, as mine did, but you can test it and you're set to go. Obviously, you don't want to just publish Secret of the Space Monster because that probably already exists, or thousands of people already have it up there. But once you actually have your app ready to go, you can probably move on to step 5, publishing. I'm not ready to do that yet, obviously, because I just did the tutorial and that's all I did. But that's about all it takes to get a Lambda skill working. If you do want to work with, or not Lambda skill, Alexa skill working, one warning I do have to give you is if you are a dev and you plan on making money at this, Amazon explicitly in their developer contract that they make you sign says they will not pay you. There is no system in place for paying you royalties or any other compensation for making Alexa skills. So if you're going to make it, you're going to make it out of the goodness of your heart and for fun. You're not going to make any money at it unless you do like someone says somewhere, I think on maybe the Forbes site or something that talks about that. But unless you did have like some sneaky way around it of like having an advertiser that like sponsors your show or something or your Alexa skill, and every time they get mentioned, you earn money from the back door from them or something. I don't know. There's probably ways to get around it, but at least in terms of the standard model of like you publish an app on Amazon and every time someone downloads it, you get like 70% of royalties, whatever, every time they pay for it or advertising. There's nothing like that in place. It's completely free. So be careful about that. I'm not sure exactly what Google Home's policy is like. I'm going to start exploring that now, but at least for now, if you want to play around with Alexa, that's how you do it. So this has been a Blue Tengu lab. I wish I could make this bigger for you. I'm sure the easiest way to search for it is just make that real big on the screen, as this tutorial does pretty much cover everything you need to do. Okay, that's big. Probably a gobbledygook from your perspective, but just search for new Alexa skills kit template step-by-step guide to build a decision tree skill, and I'm sure you'll get to this site. Amazon's pretty good about getting their sites at the top of the Google ranks. So there you go. It was from last August, so some things have changed, but it works. It works. It all worked out in the end after making those like 1 or 2 fixes. So jumping off the desktop. So that's been a Blue Tengu lab experiment. I did that in my free time because I had no idea how much work it would take to get an Alexa skill working. Hopefully it doesn't take you as long with these hints. Hopefully the video is not running too long for your taste either. I think it's about 20 minutes, so feel free to jump around and whatnot through it. But whether I continue doing something with Alexa, whether I switch to Google Home, etc. Those are going to be a result of experiments, but for now it's just playing around. So I hope you found that interesting, and I hope you do play around with Alexa, because it is a little bit of fun having it speak what you had it say. Obviously, if you want to customize it, you're going to have to start playing around with all those files that you just uploaded without thinking about it. You're actually going to have to do some work if you don't want to have it just deciding whether you're a software engineer or some other job, if you do want to expand the program. So that's Blue Tengu Lab, and I will see you, I guess, this weekend if you do come to the live show, and we'll see what we can do with this. So I just did the base. So I'll see you all next time.